Build up to that game now with two European football experts. Euan McTear is with us, and he is representing the Real Madrid side of things. And we've got Kevin Hatchard as well, who can look at the Borussia Dortmund angle. Both of you, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Brilliant to have you on the show. Euan, I'm going to start with you. You're actually in Madrid right now. What is the atmosphere there like, you know, in the city ahead of this huge game?
Honestly, it's pretty flat just now. They're so used to this. I've lived in Madrid 8 years now, and in 4 of them, they've been in the Champions League finals. So this is pretty customary for Real Madrid fans at this point. I think about 7 o'clock, you'll start to see people moving around the city, going to watch the game with their friends. But until then, it'll be a pretty normal Saturday because, they're so used to this. 2 years since the last one. They're going at a rate of one every couple of years at this point. So in Madrid right now, you wouldn't know that there's a Champions League final tonight.
Oh, must be nice to live somewhere where they're so used to winning the Champions League that no one really batters an eyelid. Kevin, I was in Dortmund seeing Newcastle play there this season. Fantastic plays. They love their football. The fans are brilliant. And they could potentially make the most of being the underdog tonight, do we think?
Yeah, well, they've done that all the way through. If you look at the group stage, they were not expected to necessarily get through what was deemed as the standard group of death. There's always one, isn't there? And they managed to top that ahead of Paris, ahead of Milan, ahead of Newcastle. And they put in some really good displays. They didn't start well, lost the first game, then drew 0-0 with Milan, so could have easily gone out from that moment on, but they beat Newcastle twice, and that was the bedrock of what they ended up doing. And you look at every stage they've had in the knockout phase, they could have gone out against PSV. They gave up some big chances, which the Dutch team weren't able to take. Against Atletico Madrid, they were awful in the first hour of the first leg, but found a way to turn that around. And then you look at the game against PSG. You know, the PSG hit the woodwork 6 times across those 2 legs. So at every stage, they've managed to find a way to win, and that gives them real confidence that they can do this.
And this is probably one for both of you, really. But Euan, I'll start with you. Of course, we don't have an English team in the final, but we're so lucky to have 2 brilliant English players in this final, and we're kind of billing it as, you know, Bellingham up against Sancho. For you, which do you think will have the biggest impact tonight?
I mean, you look at Sancho, and I think his importance to Dortmund is going to be higher. Just, you know, he's made such an impact in the second half of the season. All those ties that Kevin just mentioned. Bellingham has been, you know, just named La Liga player of the season. He's been probably Real Madrid's best player, but he does have a supporting cast if he has an off night. And towards the end of the season, he's maybe, been struggling a little bit more. He's picked up a couple of knocks along the way, played 28 games in La Liga, not the full season really. So he has had some time off, but his supporting cast is, I think, better. He's got Vinicius, Rodrigo up front with him when he drops back in midfield. Look at that Real Madrid midfield. It's been, you know, dominating Europe for a decade. So Bellingham has that supporting cast. And I think Sancho, if Dortmund are to win this game, you expect Sancho probably has to be man of the match for that to happen.
Kev, do you agree with that?
I think Jude Bellingham clearly has, you know, the greater chance of having a massive impact on the game. The one thing I'd say about Jadon Sancho, it's quite interesting. They've been really, really careful with him since he came back. So they haven't been playing him in every game. They've been really conscious of the fact that he was basically iced by Manchester United for months on end. And so they got a player who'd not really played. So they've been really careful not to overload him. He himself has said that he hasn't hit the form that he would like to at times. But what we saw against Paris in that first leg was we saw what he can be. And we saw what he is capable of. And he says himself, it's the big games that fire him up. Well, he's not going to get a bigger game than this. So it's a huge opportunity for him to really show that he's back. But Dortmund have taken it really easy with him over the last few months.
And the other player we've got to talk about, guys, is Jude Bellingham. Of course, Kev, coming up against his former team, Dortmund, who he was so loved there, wasn't he? And what a player. Would it be an extra sting for the Dortmund fans if Bellingham was to, say, grab the winner tonight?
To an extent, but I think there's probably real pride in his development, actually. I think I commentated on him many, many times when he was in the Bundesliga, and all of the things we're seeing at Real Madrid are all the things that we saw in Germany. The incredible leadership, given the age that he has, the incredible technique. He's added goals to his game. He always had that real fire, that real willingness to improve. So it's just been the continuation of what we'd already seen in the Bundesliga. They'll know how dangerous he is, but they'll know he's not the only danger.
Yeah. We keep sort of reminding people at home this morning that Real Madrid are 14-time winners. Euan, what is it about the Champions League, especially the final as well, that always seems to just bring out the best in them?
Yeah, you're right. It's especially the final. They've won the last 8 that they've been in. Not since 1981 have they lost a European Cup final. For some context, back then, Ancelotti was a 21-year-old midfielder for Roma. Adam and the Ants were #1 in the UK. It's been a while since they've lost in the final. They've won the 8 since then. And I think it's just, after time you build a certain inertia and teams become a little bit scared of Real Madrid and they expect something's going to happen even when they're winning because they've not been great in all of those finals. Remember the last one 2 years ago, Thibaut Courtois, who is going to start tonight, he had to be so huge against Liverpool to win that one. A couple of the ones in the three-peat were also dicey at times. The Sergio Ramos equaliser against Atletico. So they've not always been dominant in the finals, but towards those final minutes, if Real Madrid aren't winning and you're playing them in a Champions League final, something has to creep into your body where you think they have won 14 times. They've got that 14 on the sleeve, and it'll probably be 15 if we don't hold this on.
And Kevin, just in contrast, just 2 previous finals for Dortmund. Does that lack of experience mean something tonight, do you think? As Euan says, Real Madrid, it's just another day.
I think they're aware this is the ultimate challenge. You can tell that their coach, Edin Terzic, is a gamer because he described Real Madrid as the final boss. And I think he's absolutely right. He knows how tough this is going to be. But they've been up against it all the way through. And the thing that's curious about Dortmund's season is that they finished 5th in the Bundesliga, and deservedly so. All of the teams that finished above them in the league, that was pretty much right. So they really have saved their best performances for this competition. This is the ultimate challenge. They'll know that. But they'll also know that they have a really good spine to the team. Gregor Kobel, for me, is the best goalkeeper in German football right now. Mats Hummels and Nico Schlotterbeck have been outstanding at centre-back. They've got real strength in midfield. Marcel Sabitzer is in good form right now. Julian Brandt is a really creative player. Sancho, we've mentioned. And you've got Niklas Füllkrug as a real old-school centre-forward who can give Antonio Rudiger a real problem, I think, over the 90 minutes. That's going to be a fascinating battle between those two. So as much as I think Dortmund will respect what Real Madrid can do, they have to remember the quality that got them here in the first place.
OK, you made a good argument for Dortmund there, Kev. But what we're going to do to end this, we obviously can't have you both on and not get a score prediction from you both. So Euan, you first. And I like the word inertia that you used a minute ago. Are you sticking with Real Madrid for this one, and how do you see it going?
I mean, how can you not back Real Madrid in a European Cup final? It would be great to see Dortmund win it. I'm sure the scenes would be incredible, but Real Madrid are the final boss. And, well, at least when I play video games, the final boss tends to beat me. So I'll go with Real Madrid, and I'll go for a tight game because, like I said, some of these finals have been close. So I'll go for a 2-1, but Real Madrid, it's a European Cup final. You have to go with them.
2-1 to Real. Then, Kev, what are you saying?
I would dearly love Dortmund to win it. As you can see, I've snuck a bit of yellow onto the show. But I think 2-1 is about right. So heart says Dortmund, head says Real Madrid.
Yes, we noticed the yellow. Don't worry about that. Both of you, thank you so much for coming on, and enjoy the final wherever you're watching, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys.